Well, my topic is bipolar disorder. So when you first think of bipolar disorder, you think of, well, is that like two cold or something? No, it's not. So bipolar disorder is an illness which affects millions of people today. And a brief background is it was diagnosed as an illness in the 1980s. And it's important to understand this information because you may come across a person who has bipolar disorder and you're able to do something about it. I mean, you're not able to do something about it, but you're able to be sympathetic about their situation and not judge. So, my thesis is bipolar disorder is an illness which affects millions of people from the ages 18 to 35. And I'm going to be reviewing my main points, which is the history of bipolar disorder, the symptoms of bipolar disorder, and the current effective treatments of bipolar disorder. So, with that, let's get started with the history of bipolar disorder. So, in a Healthline article written by Timothy Legan in December 6, 2019, he states that in ancient Greece, back in ancient Greece, people coined the term bipolar disorder manic and depressive. And you were actually bound to be executed if you were found out with bipolar disorder, as you were thought to be possessed by a demon. And an interesting fact that there's also an interesting fact that lithium salts, which were discovered back in ancient Greece, were used to calm people's spirits down, and to this day we still use it. And in a WebMD article website written by Brian Scran in August 7, 2019, a former senior writer states that Emil Kraepelin, a German psychiatrist who wrote a book in 1921, in 1921, stated many mental classifications based on his book, and bipolar disorder being one of them. And he was considered the first person to ever take bipolar disorder seriously, or illnesses seriously, as the, the term manic depressive became bipolar disorder in an effort to avoid calling patients maniacs. Sorry. So with that, let's get started with the symptoms of bipolar disorder. In an NBC article written by Linda Carroll in April 11, 2018, a news reporter states that bipolar disorder is often very hard to diagnose, and it takes an average of 10 years to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, as the depressive phase usually overshadows the manic phase, and so you're just uh, diagnosed with depression rather than bipolar disorder. And the phases are basically the person being under high intensity of suicidal thoughts, dangerous behavior, and thoughts of self harm, and thoughts to harm others. And in an article in Psychology Today written by Tom Wooten in September 3, 2012, the creator of Bipolar Advantage, he states that there are 6 stages: crisis, managed, recovery, freedom, stability, and self-recovery. And the first one being crisis, which you are under the high intensity of being unable to function at all, and you're unable to do anything at all. So the sixth stage, which is self-recovery, is being under the same intensity as crisis, however you're able to function. But a majority of people who are diagnosed with bipolar disorder are actually in the managed state. So with that, I explained the symptoms. I am going to be talking about the current treatments of bipolar disorder. In a WebMD article written by Joseph Goldberg in April 6, 2019, a psychiatric states that the current most effective treatments right now is psychotherapy and medication. Medications such as benzodiazepine, antidepressants, or SSRs. And majority of people do not agree with the antidepressant part, as it's a controversial theory that people are more likely to get hurt than benefit from antidepressants. So, on WebMD's article of case studies which archives studies from 2018 to 2019, it states that it states case studies such as Jill, for example. Jill is a is a is a 35-year-old woman who was diagnosed with 33, sorry, who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and decided as she was pregnant with her first child, her family noted that she had little to self-care for herself. But her family also noted that Jill was actually a very happy person before she got pregnant. And in an effort to help her get better, she was sent uh, to get help. So she received psychotherapy and medication such as SSR and benzodiazepine and antidepressants. And within a year, Jill was steadily improving. And with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation as my speech. Sorry, as as bipolar disorder still affects people from ages 18 to 35 and continues to affect millions of people. And I stated the history of bipolar disorder, the symptoms of bipolar disorder, and the effective treatments of bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder could actually be cold because the person diagnosed with bipolar disorder may or not be cold towards you. Thank you.
Done ba?
Yeah.